Some show up at Keeneland just to be beautiful, some for the burgoo. Me, it's because the best handicapping challenge on God's green earth is right here in Kentucky. Star horses come from Florida, California, and New York, Arkansas, and Louisiana, all to what undoubtedly is the greatest horse racing melting pot in America.
Into the stretch at Keeneland, and Flight Line just moves right by. Life is good.
Win here and you've done something. Love what you do and you'll never work a day in your life. That's Keeneland. Now, let's get handicapping. And a pleasant Friday evening, everybody. Welcome to the Keeneland Look Ahead as we look ahead to the Saturday program for April 15th. Trio of stakes races coming up. This is really the second big Saturday of 3 Saturdays here during the spring meet. Of course, we've got another full week next week for week 3, and then we got a 3-day week to wrap things up on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday during the 4th week of the meet before the action in Kentucky shifts to Churchill Downs, and we get all geared up and geeked up for the Kentucky Derby. We had some great action on the track today and on the turf at Keeneland, a couple turf stakes races, and we saw an outstanding performance. We'll show you that in just a moment in the Maker's Mark Mile, but maybe not from the horse that we expected it from. As we look ahead to the Saturday card, feature races include Jenny Wiley on the turf. Chad Brown trying to win that race, I think, for the 5th time in the last 6 years. He's won 4 of the last 5. He'll have the favorite in there, and he'll also have a late running threat as well. We'll hear from both of his jockeys later on the show for Chad Brown's horses in the Jenny Wiley. Tom Leach caught up with Irad Ortiz and Flavian Pratt, so we'll hear from them about their charges in the Jenny Wiley coming up on Saturday. We've got the Lexington Stakes. Neil Pessin's got a runner in there coming out of the Louisiana Derby. Tom Leach caught up with Neil Pessin. We'll also listen into that interview a little bit later as we go, and then we've got the Giants Causeway Stakes for filly and mare turf sprinters coming up on the program as well. So 3 stakes races on the Saturday card. Let's look at the forecast. It's supposed to be some overnight rain perhaps in Lexington, but should be good for tomorrow. Partly cloudy skies, temps in the upper 70s, 78 degrees, the forecasted high. 40% chance of rain overnight, but shouldn't be anything significant. I think we're looking at a really good day of racing tomorrow. Fast track, I'm sure. Turf course will be about as firm as it can be at this time of year in Kentucky. The big news from today, other than the great performances on the track, was the Pick 6 carryover. Nobody took down the Pick 6 today, so we start with a $93,000 carryover. In fact, $93,612 to be exact in the Pick 6 carryover for Saturday. Not only are we going to give you our big picture look at the entire card, but at the end, we're going to give you a little more specific towards the Pick 6 sequence for a little graphic and how to approach and attack the Pick 6. So we'll have that for you coming up later in the show. 2 wins today for Tyler Gaffalione. Trainer Ian Wilkes continued his hot streak. He had another winner. Everything he sends out seems like it's running first or second, and they're all live. They're winning some photos. They're losing some photos, but they're all running live. You want to keep your eye on trainer Ian Wilkes as he remains hot. We talked about Gaffalione winning 2 today. He will be absent on the card on Saturday, as will Joel Rosario. They've got 2 serious mounts in the $1 million Apple Blossom at Oaklawn. So both Joel Rosario and Tyler Gaffalione are on the road. Tyler's riding Secret Oath, last year's Kentucky Oaks winner. As for Joel Rosario, he rides Clairiere in the Apple Blossom. So a race you certainly want to check out simulcast and throw out your ADWs to just see what's going on. It's not a great betting race. There's only 4 in the Apple Blossom. But again, 2 of the top riders here at Keeneland, especially when we talk about a big stakes day like this, are out of town in Tyler Gaffalione and Joel Rosario. Wesley Ward ran 1-2 in the Limestone Turf Sprint today. Why are we even surprised at this point when it comes to the 2-year-old baby races and the Keeneland Turf Sprints? It's just Wesley's world. And 1-2 today in the turf sprint. We've got another turf sprint on the card than the Giants Causeway on Saturday. Who do you think we might want to lean towards in that one? Certainly has been Ward's world. Now, today's card, part of the reason why we had that $93,000 Pick 6 carryover. Get this, folks. We had a $20 winner, a $20 winner, a $30 winner, and a $98 winner on the same card today. 10-race program produced 4 winners, $20 or more. Again, 2 20s, a $30, and a $98 winner. And that's part of the reason why we had a big carryover. Kim Nelson had a nice job today with 3 winners on top. It was not easy sledding. I had 2 today, and no big prices yet. I'm really looking for a price breakthrough at some point. We did catch the Ian Wilkes, one of our key plays of the day on the Friday card, coming through for us in the final race on the card, paid $6 and change at 2-1. So that was nice to get one of the key plays in at least, but we need a little bit more of those, and we're going to need a little bit more than 2-1 to make up for the deficit that we've got brewing here through the first 5 days of the racing meet. We're a third of the way home on this 15-day meet, and I'm really looking for kind of a handicapping breakout. Hopefully that will come on Saturday. Let's give you a look at what happened today in the Maker's Mark Mile. It was the return of two-time Breeders' Cup winner Modern Games that everybody was excited about. He was the odds-on favorite. But I'll tell you, the horse who ran like a champ was Chez Pierre. What a performance. Let's go back and take a look, start to finish, of today's Maker's Mark Mile.
And they're off in the Maker's Mark Mile. There goes Chez Pierre along with Dr. Zimpf. Dr. Zimpf now takes a narrow lead from Chez Pierre. Cabo Spirit is there up on the outside in third as they head down into the first turn. Dr. Zimpf from the outside, Chez Pierre toward the rail. These two go at it for the lead, stride for stride, around the first turn. Cabo Spirit settles off them into third as they race around the turn. Then a gap of 3 more lengths back to Modern Games, who's fourth up on the outside. Up to the mark, his fifth right to his inside. In Love is in sixth. Speaking Scout is seventh. Emmanuel last of the 8. Opening quarter, 23.67 seconds. Up the backstretch they go. Chez Pierre leads it. Chez Pierre leads it 3/4 of a length. Dr. Zimpf now starts to draw alongside again. In fact, puts ahead in front. Gap of 2 more lengths to Cabo Spirit in third. Gap of 5 more to Modern Games in fourth. Another margin of 2 lengths back to Up to the Mark, joined by In Love. Speaking Scout to the inside. Emmanuel last, 47.66 seconds. The time for the first half mile. Dr. Zimpf has cleared with the lead to the far turn and leads it by 2 lengths. Chez Pierre tries to pick up the chase, switches off the rail, comes after the leader now to the top of the stretch. Then a gap of 3 to Cabo Spirit and a margin of 7 more back to Modern Games, who's a distant fourth. The leaders are past the quarter pole. Chez Pierre ranges up on the outside, takes a narrow lead from Dr. Zimpf in second. 3 more lengths. Cabo Spirit is in third. Another 5 lengths back to Modern Games. Up to the mark. Chez Pierre has the lead out to 6 lengths in deep stretch. Modern Games and Up to the Mark are running on second and third. No catching. Chez Pierre, Flavian Pratt to win the Maker's Mark Mile. 1 minute 33.
So what a performance there from Chez Pierre in the colors of Barbaro. The Lael Stables, always like to see those. You don't often see a horse concede the lead like that, then to just reel in the horse you let go and blow off and really never be threatened by a world-class closer like Modern Games. So tremendous performance by Chez Pierre. This is a horse that Jeff Siegel and I in a podcast we do hinted at this horse's ability last year. We were really excited to see him maybe run in the Dinner Party Stakes, the race before the Preakness on the turf at Pimlico. It just aired in the Henry S. Clark Stakes, the local prep there in Maryland. He went to the sidelines. He came back, didn't run well at Tampa. That's why you got the price. He was 20-1 as the horses went into the starting gate, 21-1, I believe. Ended up 9-1. The late money went on him. He was the second favorite in the daily double Will Pace. So there was expected to be some late money on him, but a tremendous amount of late money came in on him today. And the victory for Chez Pierre, the late money was smart again in that one. Really big time performance. And if he duplicates those efforts moving forward, he is going to be a serious horse in the middle distance turf races throughout the course of the rest of this year. Great performance. To see if Arnaud Delacour can keep him healthy and happy, because we unleashed a budding star, I think, today with a new course, or not course record, but a new stakes record for the Maker's Mark Mile. Tremendous performance by Chez Pierre. Wanted to share that with you today. Okay, let's go to the Saturday card, and I think this one is a better program, as I hinted last night as I handicapped through it. This is a better card than last Saturday's card for the Toyota Bluegrass Day, because that day we had a bunch of big favorites. Horses like Caravel was in there as a big favorite. Goodnight Olive, of course, Tapit Trice was a solid favorite in the Bluegrass Stakes. I don't think we have that kind of card today, and I think on Saturday, the allowance races are so strong. They look competitive, deep, and races that might be, stakes caliber, quite frankly, when we look at them. So let's take a look at the big picture here and what we have in store for you on Saturday's program. An additional pick 4 on this 11 race card is going to start in race number 4. So we got that marked with an asterisk because that's a little different than what we're used to seeing in our normal lineup here at Keeneland. Usually 2 pick 4s in early and late. Final 4 races on the card. Of course, the late pick 4, the early pick 4 is always races 2 through 5. But this middle pick 4 that we have on the Saturday card will begin in race number 4. So if pick 4s are your thing, or if you got good opinions in races 4, 5, 6, and 7, a little extra chance for you to try to maximize those opinions and string them out and try to build out some value and hit a nice score in that middle pick 4. Of course, the early pick 5 is going to start in race number 1 as we're used to. The carryover pick 6 will begin in race number 6. Again, 11 race cards, 6 through 11. Carryover of 93,612 in the pick 6. Race number 6 is also going to start the Keeneland Turf pick 3. So race 6 is a pretty good one if you can come up with a horse that you like in that one. Late pick 5 is going to start in the 7th. We've got Stakes Company in races 8, 9, and 10 in succession. Race number 8 is going to be the Giants Causeway. Race number 9 is going to be the Lexington. And then race number 10, the feature will be the grade 1 Jenny Wiley. So they go in succession. The 8th and 10th also in that green, the Turf Pick 3 races. 2 of the stakes races, part of the Keeneland Turf Pick 3, which will be races 6, 8, and 10. Our 3 key plays down at the bottom of the screen. We'll take you through those as we look to races 2, 5, and 11 for some of our key price plays on the day. We've got some other plays that we like, but they might be a little bit shorter prices than obviously these big ones. And it's about hitting something good and catching a good score here. So those are the ones we will spotlight on the Saturday card. Let's go to race number 1 now as we start kick things off with a normal 1 o'clock post time on Saturday. Mile and a 16th maiden special weight to start things off here. And this is one where Oglethorpe's going to get a lot of attention. 3 of the handicappers have that one on top. Magical Power for Todd Pletcher, I thought would probably be favored in this race. I'm the only one taking Magical Power on top. Pletcher trains, Irad Ortiz rides. This one comes off a good third place finish, or second place finish, I should say, in the career debut. Was well bet that day at 6-5, 10 lengths back to the third place finisher. I like to see that with a runner up. When there's a big gap back to the third place, that just means you got beat by a better horse that day and you dusted everybody else. Wasn't a blanket finish where you won a 3-horse photo for second, that sort of thing like that. Clear second best in the debut for Magical Power. Like the outside post position, it's not great necessarily going a mile and a 16th, but in a short field like this with a field of 7, shouldn't get hung too wide. And this horse has 1 turn speed coming out of that mile at Gulfstream. I think Irad Ortiz should get Magical Power into a good position. Also, the 2 in here, Covet, I think is worth a improving look. Kind of split the field in the debut, 12-horse field on the turf, but there's plenty of dirt pedigree here out of an Indian Charlie mare and by Kentucky Derby winner Always Dreaming. Look for the 2 Covet to improve second time out. Had some trouble at the start last time as well. This horse is bred for the dirt. They probably went on the turf last time because they knew the horse didn't have a lot of early speed and wouldn't be able to handle a sprint on the main. So we'll see now if Covet doesn't run a little bit better here. Going to the main track where the pedigree says it should be fine, and the mile and a 16 should be pretty good as well. So I've got Magical Power and Covet. Oglethorpe, the other one in there. A lot of our handicappers like Oglethorpe. Why not? 3 starts, has beaten a grand total of about 3 lengths in the 3 starts. Gets blinkers on for the first time, and sometimes that can help a horse over the hump who's just not quite getting there and focusing at the end. Danny Gargan sends this one out for Luis Saez in the saddle, and this horse makes the second start off a layoff. Good spot in the form cycle. Usually a horse gets 1 race back, and then second time should move forward and improve. So Oglethorpe makes a lot of sense. If you're playing multi-race wagers, absolutely. 7, 2, and 3. I would use all 3 of them here to get things started in race number 1. To the second race we go on the Saturday card. The pick 4 starts here, the early pick 4. It's also my first key play of the day because number 7 in here, Unified Decision, goes for an Ian Wilkes barn that is absolutely red hot. As we mentioned, everything he sent out this meet has really run its eyes out. They're trying hard. They're getting in some stretch battles. They're winning their share of them. They're all firing. And I think Unified Decision is one that you want to watch in here. Coming off the layoff, but Wilkes can get him ready. He's had a couple off the layoff, already run well at the meet. Gets Lasix for the first time. Showed some improvement with the blinkers added at Churchill Downs in the 3rd career start. I'm trusting the trainer the way things are going right now. You get the Lasix added here. Second time blinkers. Unified Decision for me. 20-1 in the morning line. No offense to Nick Tamaro, the morning line maker, with my comment 20-1 on Wilkes. Nah. But I don't think we're going to see 20-1 on any Ian Wilkes trainee. Again, after what he's done in the last day or two. Nick had to put this morning line together 48 hours ago. So he's not privy necessarily to how Wilkes has even continued to have a strong week throughout the week is gone. I would not expect if you remade the line that you make any Ian Wilkes horse 20-1 right now. I say that because I don't want you to think, oh, this horse is going to be 20-1. And then when he's 6 or 7-1 on the tote board, you think that he's underlaid. This horse will probably be 6 or 7-1 on the tote board. And I think he's a legitimate win contender in this race, the way the barn's going. And if you see the public handicappers across the board here in race number 2, Tom Leach is on Unified Decision. Kim Nelson, who had 3 wins today, is on Unified Decision. 3 of us have Unified Decision on top. that's not going to equal 20-1. So this is one of the reasons why it's good to look at the handicapper selectors box, because if you just saw the 20-1 in the morning line, and you're like, okay, I'm going to build everything around this 20-1. You could see right now this horse is not going to be 20-1. And again, it's not a knock on the morning line maker. It's a situation where you've got a barn that's going really good right now. Kim's taken notice to it. Tom's taken notice to it. I've taken notice to it. And that's where we're going. Please Be Kind, the 6 is probably the horse to beat in here, but has already had 14 career starts. 7 in the money finishes, a lot of second and third place finishes, as my buddy Brian Natto down at Gulfstream likes to say, a lot of minor slices. This horse likes to get slices, 7 out of 14, second or third. Paul McGee, a very good veteran trainer. Doesn't have many horses going anymore, but this one's a horse that's just been a kind of a consistent check getter. Second, third, the last couple starts in maiden special weight company at Fairgrounds. You come to Keeneland, you don't mind running for $50,000 because it's a $49,000 purse in the maiden claiming 50s here. So this race is worth as much as the maiden specials were down at Fairgrounds. And if you happen to get claimed for $50,000 in here with a horse who's 0 for 14, you probably don't cry too much about it. Try to win this race, and if you get claimed to get an extra $50,000, you'll take that in the business sense. Please Be Kind, certainly respected in here. The 11 Sinners Saints got some early speed coming in from Santa Anita. We've seen the California horses run really well so far at this meet. Bob Hess has a winner. We've seen a couple from Phil D'Amato. I think there's a couple other California horses on the card that you might want to sprinkle in. Santa Anita is closed this week. No racing this week as they transition from their champions meet in the winter into this kind of post-Santa Anita Derby meet they have through June. So there's no live racing at Santa Anita this week. Some of them are taking advantage of that by hitting the road and running here at Keeneland. A horse like this, you say, you know, what's a maiden at Santa Anita showing up here for a maiden claiming? Nowhere to run in California right now, and this is a horse who hasn't run since January and has been here in Kentucky since, going back to March at the Thoroughbred Center for Anna Mia. So this is a horse who's already been in Kentucky, probably aiming for this Keeneland meet here. We'll see what she can do. Sinners Saints, a $400,000 Keeneland September purchase, now in for the maiden 50. But I think a contender in this race where you don't have to get too excited about any particular horse. I'm taking the trainer angle in here, unified decision. I can see you going 4 deep, 7, 6, 11, 2. All 4 of those horses, I think, are under consideration for me. And as we look at the other public handicappers, the 2's picked on top for Scott, the 6 picked by Gabby, the rest of us on the 7. So 2, 6, 7 for sure. And again, I think the 11's one you could throw in there. Look at it 4 deep, perhaps. In race number 4. Let's go to the third race on the program. No new wagers kicking up here in the third race, but it'll be part of the early pick 5. It'll be part of the early pick 4. First turf race on the card, but not part of the Keeneland turf pick 3 because that's the final 3 turf races on the program. I'm going to the outside here with Eyes on Target, the 11 Portfolio Company. Look, I love the Gulfstream horses here historically in the turf allowance races. The Gulfstream horses have won about half of the turf races early to start this meet. They're running well, and I just think Portfolio Company, Eyes on Target, both out of Gulfstream are the horses to beat in here. The deciding factor for me was that Eyes on Target comes out of a mile and a 16th race versus the mile race for Portfolio Company. And what we've seen here historically in the past, that 70% of the winners in these mile and a 16th races, the allowance races at Keeneland, come out of races at a mile and a 16th or more versus the ones that are trying to extend distance, going from the mile to the mile and a 16th. A little bit extra distance in the final prep has statistically at least shown a nice advantage with 70% of those winners. So that's why I went to Eyes on Target over Portfolio Company. Natural inclination, I think Portfolio Company might be a little bit better horse. The 4th in the Bryan Station, beating a length and a quarter, was a really good performance over this course. But Eyes on Target is also a winner over this track for trainer Mike Maker. He's kind of had a little losing streak to battle with of late, lost the last 7 starts 4 times as the favorite. So we're looking to get a little bit better price on Eyes on Target if we take this one. If you're showing up on the tote and the 12 and 11 are kind of similar prices, then I don't know if that lean towards the mile and the 16th prep makes as much difference. But if there's a discrepancy in the tote board where the 12 is a much better price and has that statistical lean, I think that's a good angle to follow. Outside post, look, they're not easy here for this mile and a 16th race on the turf, but I think the 2 best in here are the 12 and the 11. The other one I would look at is number 3, James Aloysius. This is another horse from Gulfstream Park. Has done nothing wrong in his career. 3 starts, 2 wins. Danny Gargan trains here. Gargan's got one earlier in the program. He could have 2 winners in the first 3 races. It wouldn't be a big surprise there. Really good draw for James Aloysius in post number 3, and the horse has some forward style. So there's going to be a definite advantage for the 3 over the 11 and the 12 in the early going. Easier run to the first turn, less traffic, less chance of going wide, all that sort of thing. So there are some advantages to the 3. I would use those 3 Gulfstream horses Maybe you consider the 4 Easy Time also in here, a horse who's run well at Keeneland in the past and has a good Gulfstream race last time. 12, 11, 3, and 6 are really the horses under consideration for me in what could be a pretty good betting race. Let's see what the public does with this one in the third portfolio company. Again, the top pick for Kim and Tom, eyes on target for Gabby and I, and then James Aloysius, the top pick for Scott. So we're on the same kind of horses, right? 12, 11, 3, and then 6. You see Easy Time popping up there a couple. So it is those 4 horses. That's what everybody's got race number 3 down to. If you're playing a multi-race wagers, maybe you use all 4 if you can afford, or if you've got a place where you need to narrow in other races and can't do it, then maybe you have to narrow in this spot. If I had to narrow it, I'd still want the top 3. I don't know if I want to play this race without the 12, the 11, and the 3. If you can afford it, I think the 6 is a good addition in there. But that inside draw and the pace advantage that James Aloysius has might be enough that he doesn't give it back. And so I would want to use all 3 of them in the third race. Fourth race on the card as we go back to the big board tells us that we start a pick 4 here. Again, this is not traditionally a pick 4 starting race in race number 4. So that's why I threw the star up there next to that. Pick 4 starts here on races 4, 5, 6, and 7. That's going to get you through a grass race or 2, but before we get to the stakes. So these are all like good, juicy overnight races, a lot of high dollar claimers, allowance, maiden type races here in this pick 4. Wanted to kind of get after a little bit, I think. I went with implementation in here for trainer Wesley Ward. He's doing a lot right at this meet. Ward's got a speedster here in implementation who can kind of get out there, even despite coming out of a route race. This horse has sprint speed and route speed, made the front in a classy allowance race here back in October before giving way, and then ran in the claiming ranks going long and went wire to wire. We know the horse likes the racetrack. That's always a good sign. Layoff, you got the workouts, and then Wesley Ward factor. He's going well at the meet. I like the fact that he goes to the apprentice rider in here, actually. They get a 5-pound weight allowance, and the rest of these are carrying 124, which is a fair amount of weight. It's only 6.5 furlongs, so weight's not a huge deal in a one-turn sprint. But if I can get 5 pounds and everybody else is carrying 124, I'll take it. And in a one-turn sprint, the bug boy doesn't have to think a lot, That's one of the things I remember in our night school program. If some of you were a part of that back our 8-9 years of night school that we ran back, in the last decade or so. I remember we had trainer Tom Amos on, and we had asked him in the chat about riding apprentice riders. And he always said he doesn't mind an apprentice rider in a sprint race because all you have to do is go. Every horse in a sprint race is trying to run as fast as they can, as far as they can. So there's not a lot of thought process. You don't have to try to find where the competition is. You don't have to rate and have gears and worry about your position on the first turn and all that. If you've got an apprentice rider, get them in a sprint race, and that's their best chance. Implementation, you get the weight allowance, and I think implementation for Wesley Ward, the top pick in here, but not an overly confident pick in this race. Let's see what the other handicappers have in race number 4. Inside Stunt, the 1. Come On Man, the 6. Courthouse Cove, the 8. And I've got implementation. Come On Man also for Kim Nelson. So 5 handicappers have 4 different horses. This tells you that this 9-horse field with 4 different top choices is probably a pretty wide open race and isn't one that you're just going to lay all over the same horse. The 7, the 2, and the 8 are horses that I thought were top in here. Courthouse Cove is picked on top by some of the others and fits well. But one that's not mentioned too often here by the others is the 2. And this could be the price play in here. Go Yoshka. This is a horse who ran a good second by a nose at 35-1 in a $50,000 claimer back here last year. Probably the best race on the horse's entire form. Mac Robertson, usually a high percentage trainer. He's not hitting in 2023 like he has in the past, but these are good Oaklawn connections. Jareth Loveberry coming in to ride for Mac Robertson. And look, we have seen the horse for course angle at Keeneland so many times already at this meet. Their horses, like their recent 3-4 starts, look like nothing, but you go back into form and they ran here in the fall or last spring or even in 2021, and they had a really good effort. Keeneland is one of the great horse for course angles of any track in America. They either love it or sometimes they don't love it. But Go Yoshka could be a really nice price in here because after getting blitzed twice at 23-1 and 31-1 at Oaklawn, this horse is not going to get bet on the board. People are not going to go back to that career best effort at Keeneland in the fall and make a big announcement that, look, we think this horse is a major contender. Go Yoshka is going to be a fair price in here. And so that could be the value. This is a race I think you want to use a few horses to start that middle pick 4. And of course, it's part of the early pick 5 and the early pick 4. So a lot cooking in race number 4. I wish I had a stronger opinion because if you had a single in there, now you're starting to look at like all 3 sequences, the pick 5, the early pick 4, the middle pick 4, and you get a little more excited when you can really hone in on one of those races that's part of all 3 legs. Let's go back to the big board here as we go to race number 5. And Race number 5 is where we've got our second key play of the day. And this is going to be one of these angles that we love. We love the Gulfstream turf horses here on the grass. We've got Allowance Company in race number 5. Again, this is not part of the Keeneland Turf Pick 3. We got 5 turf races. The last 3 are part of the Keeneland Turf Pick 3. Baby Billy's the one I like in here at 10-1 in the morning line. This horse ran at Gulfstream Park in the winter and had really good Gulfstream form. I mean, this horse ran in the Mucho Macho Man Stakes, then went to the turf and really perked up with a good effort on the turf and won that race with Lasix. Now back with Lasix today. I think that's a key angle here. Baby Billy back on Lasix. Jack Sisterson goes to Flavian Pratt. We know the Gulfstream horses run really good in these kind of races. This horse doesn't come directly from Gulfstream. He ran at Turfway last time in the Jeff Ruby. They tried something. They added blinkers, or I should say, they tried something in that race, going back to the blinkers. They threw him in a big stakes race, maybe to try to get Kentucky Derby points and sneak in somehow, or just go for the big money in the Jeff Ruby. I think that was like a $750,000 or $600,000 purse. So it was worth taking a shot at, but Baby Billy wasn't competitive in that spot against 2 Phils and some other good ones in there. This is a much easier spot. I like Flavian Pratt riding. The 1 turf race at Gulfstream is really good. And the win on the form was with Lasix. They're back with Lasix today. 10-1 in the morning line. Baby Billy is one of my key plays of the day with a nice price play. So let's try to get that one in key play number 2. Now, this isn't one of those standout races. This is a race where there's some good options in here. Otherwise, with that one on top, the 4 Emperor's Appeal also comes in from Gulfstream. This one should be inside speed. 2 starts ago had the misfortune of hooking eventual Tampa Bay Derby and Bluegrass Stakes winner Tappet Trice, was overmatched in that spot, and every other race has been competitive, though. Emperor's Appeal should get a good trip. I don't like the bottom side of the pedigree necessarily to go the 1 1/8 with Successful Appeal on the bottom, but Adam Biscuits is going to get a chance because I don't think there's a ton of speed to the inside. The Emperor's Appeal, I think, is going to get the lead, get to the hedge, and take them as far as they can. Brian Lynch does really good with turf horses that have some speed. I just don't know if Emperor's Appeal can see the whole way out. The dam side of the pedigree seems a little bit short. Of course, the top side of the pedigree by Empire Maker, Belmont Stakes winner, Florida Derby winner. You could definitely see Empire Maker siding on a horse to get a 1 1/8. But when it comes to handicapping, for me, one of the points I want to make is a lot of times for me, the best stamina influences come from the dam side. And the sire influences the brilliance, the class. And then on the bottom side of the pedigree is where you need to get the stamina. So when you have a dam sire like Successful Appeal, who's a sprinter and gets primarily sprinters, I don't know how far a horse like that will want to run in Emperor's Appeal, but we'll find out. Empire Maker, of course, the 1 1/2 Belmont Stakes winner. You would expect that he could get a horse of some distance. But for me, when I'm handicapping, I lean way more to the dam side of the pedigree for the stamina. And then to see if a horse is going to be brilliant and classy, then I look to the sire side. 6, 4, 8, 9, 12. There are other numbers you can use in here with Baby Billy. I'll use Baby Billy on top, win bet for sure. And then you got like the 4, 8, 9, 12 that I want to use underneath. So 6 over those 4. That would be a trifecta key. That would be 12 combinations. So you could play 6 over those 4 horses for $6 for 50 cents. That's a good play in my estimation. Then if you get the win on Baby Billy, not only you cash the win ticket, but you hit the trifecta as well for not a big investment. So 6 over the 4, 8, 9, 12, the way I'm going to attack race number 5. See what my compadres in the selection box are doing in race number 5. And the 8, the 9, and 12 are the other picks in here, right? So 6 over the 8, 9, 12, and 4. So it's got my pick, Baby Billy, on top, who's on an island. Nobody else has Baby Billy. I love that. And if we can get everybody else's horses just kind of mixed in there, maybe Emperor's Appeal goes a little bit farther than the pedigree suggestion, holds on for 2nd or 3rd. We made a nice trifecta here in race number 5. Certainly we want to get win money on Baby Billy at anything close to that 5-1 morning line. Look, you do want to watch the also eligible list in this race. Our Dream Ride is live if the 13 were to draw in for sure. The 15 Battle of Normandy will be one of the horses to beat if that one draws in off the AE list. So pretty good group of also eligibles. Check the scratches and changes on race number 5 before you dive in there. I would say if you're playing a trifecta, I still like Baby Billy. That's my horse in here. But I might throw those also eligibles in along with those other horses for the trifecta underneath. You certainly want to consider a couple of those AEs if they happen to draw in. 6th race on the card starts the back half of this 11-race program, and it's the carryover to the Pick 6 beginning right here. We've got $93,612 in the Pick 6 carryover. Keeneland Turf Pick 3 also starts in this one. And we say check the also eligibles in the 5th race. Definitely check the also eligibles in race number 6 because I like the 15 Magical Loot if this one gets in. This is another Ian Wilkes trainee. They're all running really well right now. First time Lasix off the layoff. Bullet workouts down in Florida before coming north. I think Magical Loot's going to be tough in here if it happens to draw in. Even with the outside post position, you get a pretty long run down the back stretch at 6 furlongs before you have to get in and tuck in. Magical Loot's not a horse who's got a ton of early speed, so does stand a little bit of a chance to get hung wide if that runner can't tuck in. We might not be worried about Magical Loot, though. He's got to draw into the race first, but that's the one that you want to keep an eye on. Also, Scylla, the 9 horse in here. This is a horse by Tappet out of Close Hatches. She earned, $3-4 million. First-time starter for Bill Mott. Bred to the 9s. Working like a champ down at Payson Park, a deep main track at Payson Park that gets horses really fit and legged up. I would expect Bill Mott to have Scylla ready to go. You don't just show up at Keeneland with a first-time starter by Judd Mott to give him an out. I would expect Scylla ready to go first time. We'll want to check that one out. See how the action is on betting the horse, how the horse looks pre-race. Certainly, Gabby's got a great eye for stuff like that. She can give us her insight on the simulcast feed on how Scylla's looking the first-time starter. 10 Zeitlos is a horse who's going to try to cut back in trip from the mile by Curlin, who sired more winners at Keeneland last year than anybody else. Steve Asmussen's runners are not really firing so far at the meet. We'll see if Zeitlos can change that with Irad Ortiz riding. Late runner in here and cutting back from a mile with a late running style to 6 furlongs, that's not really the profile. You'd rather see the horse with some early speed in here. Hard to tell where the early speed may come from in this particular spot. Also, the 5, Nurse Kringle Dances. It's another Ian Wilkes. This is another one, though. I don't really like this horse to win a lot, even though the Wilkes barn is super hot, just because he comes from too far out of it. The Bullet workouts down at Palm Meadows, maybe Nurse Kringle Dances will show a little bit more pace under Julian Leperoux. But if they try to close like they did last year, it's probably not going to be a successful formula going 6 furlongs. So race number 6 starts the pick 6. Scylla, the first-time starter, is of a lot of interest. 15 Magical Loot to me is the play. I would go too deep in the pick 6. We'll talk about that in just a bit if we get the 15 and the 9 both in the field. Let's go to the 7th race on the card next up. Race number 7 is a mile and a 16th on the main track, Allowance Company. This is an allowance field, but there are many options in here of stakes caliber horses. You got horses like Kentucky Derby alum Barber Road in this spot. Some horses who have been in some high level races. Graphic Detail has been in some big stakes races. Husband Material's been in graded stakes races. Good field here. Barber Road's kind of a classy individual. Last time out showed speed. This horse has never shown any speed in his life. And all of a sudden last time he started to run to those morning workouts. He's really sharpened in the morning. And it seemed like John Ortiz has his 4-year-old son of race day kind of at a career best right now, even though he comes off a second-place finish last time. The sharpness that he showed at Oaklawn early in the race kind of tells me he's into it. So I would not be surprised if Barber Road's tough in here. Of course, Race Day, the sire, was a major stakes winner here at Keeneland over the main track. Another pedigree note, of course, number 6, Crump, is by Into Mischief and out of Flashing. Just a wonderful pedigree there. And, of course, Into Mischief has more winners at Keeneland on the main track than any other sire since we went back to the dirt. And another pedigree note in this really interesting race, Principe d'Oro, the Todd Pletcher trainee, by Medaglia d'Oro out of Dame Dorothy. Bobby Flay's really good race mare. This is a good group in here for Allowance Company. I think you want to go deep in this spot. Tapu, the 7 is the one I'm going to end up taking on top. It's another well-bred Tappet. Gelded for the first time, has a really good workout since last starting in October. Comes in fresh. Took on some pretty good company last year in the races in Kentucky. And Meister was in one of those races. So pretty good groups that this horse has faced and always seems to fire a good shot. So I took Tapu, first time back, John Velasquez riding, but a very tough race. Barber Road just gives me the feeling that's going to be some rail speed in here. I think he's going to be tough. If Raylo Gutierrez can get Barber Road out of the gate and right up into the race, short stretch finish line, turning for home with that back class, he's going to be tough in here. 7-1, and then you could go a lot of different ways beyond that in race number 7. As far as my partners go, let's see what they've got for us in the 7th. The 4, Principe d'Oro, is picked on top by 3 of our handicappers. Gabby Gaudet's on the island with Barber Road. I've got Tapu on the island and Barber Road right up there. So 7-1-4 and some combinations of that seems like a good place at least to start if you're looking for your plays and combinations in the 7th. Let's go to the 8th race on the card. It's the Giants Causeway Stakes. This is our first of 3 consecutive stakes. And Look, Wesley Ward ran 1-2 in the stakes race today for the fillies. For the 3-year-old fillies. Now you get the older fillies going in the Giants Causeway, the older fillies and mares in race number 8. You got to start with Wesley Ward. He's got Happy Soul in here, and he's also got Twilight Gleaming. The 3 and the 10 are both very live shots. I mean, he wins more turf sprints than anybody by a factor of 2 or 3. I mean, he just dominates the turf sprints historically at Keeneland. He's been on point at this meet with his turf sprinters. He was unbelievable in 2022 with his turf sprinters here at Keeneland. You just can't avoid the Ward factor in these races. So Happy Soul and the 10, the 3, and Happy Soul is the 3, and Twilight Gleaming the 10, I should say. 3 and 10 for the Wards have to be right at the top of your handicapping considerations in here. Now, I love post 3, 4, and 5. Their statistical edge that they have in these big field turf sprints. Happy Souls in the 3 hole. It's Wesley Ward. Do you just stop right there? I mean, that to me is almost about how the handicapping process has to start and end. Wesley Ward's got a power post with John Velasquez riding, a filly who ran really well in the turf in the Music City at Kentucky Downs. We know she's classy. She was second in Thoroughbred Club of America here last year. She's a top-notch filly. She gets a great post position. And Wesley Ward just is not missing with his turf sprinters. So the 3 is the one I prefer of those, the 3 and the 10. In between them is Amy C, also in one of the power posts, post number 5. This Phil D'Amato trainee is really good. She looked good in the Las Ciénegas last time. She's run well on the straight turf course at Santa Anita, and she's also run really well on the downhill turf course. I don't think she's a downhill turf specialist per se. I think she's just a flat-out runner, and she's in really good form right now. Phil D'Amato won 2 races already this week. I believe Wednesday and Thursday, each picking up a winner. His horses are running well out of California. Expect Amy C to be a handful in here. She's going to be tough. So Twilight Gleaming, Amy C. Scott's got an interesting one in here, the 11 Little Jewel. This is a horse who really impressed visually down at Gulfstream Park in her maiden breaker, to the point where wheeled right back in stakes company at 8-1. And my pal Brian Nato was all over her that day because of the visual performance that she put forth in that maiden breaker. Little Jewel is a good turf sprinter. She's got a tough post out here in post number 11. Javier Castellano, a really good pilot. Let's see what kind of trip he can work out, but I would not be shocked at all if Little Jewel is not a big part of these exotics. I've got it 3, 5, 10, and 11 in the Giants Causeway Stakes. As we look across with my partners, that's got it covered pretty well with the 3, 5, 10, and 11. The 4 Ouvres just won, 5 in a row? 5 straight turf sprints, not easy to do. Couple on the turf, couple on the main in that 5-race win streak. A great post, again, a power post. There's a ton of early speed in here, and that's what worries me a little bit about Ouvre. But that form is undeniable. When you've won 5 straight turf sprints, you have to respect that. Let's go next and take a look at the big board for our second stakes race. It's race number 9. Race number 9 is the Stone Street Lexington for potential Kentucky Derby hopeful Disarm, who's running in this spot. Also some horses who could make their way towards the Preakness Stakes with a good effort here. Probably Derby qualifying points, though. Disarm has to run 1-2 in this race. And if Disarm runs first or second place would give 8 points of Kentucky Derby qualifying, already with 40 points for the second in the Louisiana Derby. That would put Disarm up at 48 points and get Disarm into the field for the Derby. That's what they're trying to do. Of course, they're trying to win this race as well, because we're looking at a $400,000 purse in a graded stakes race for Disarm. So they're here to win it, but if they finish second, they would have enough to press on to the Kentucky Derby if they won't. Anybody else in this race, the 20 points in winning wouldn't give them enough probably to qualify for the field the way things look now, nowhere close to the points. So unless 20 horses didn't enter, which isn't going to happen, nobody else can get into the Kentucky Derby out of the Lexington this year except Disarm with a first or second place finish. But Brad Cox has got a couple in here who I think are really good. First Mission and Demolition Duke. You could see those horses certainly with a big effort going on to the Preakness Stakes. We saw Owendale go straight to the Preakness out of this race a couple years ago after winning it for Brad Cox. And, of course, Cox won this race last year with Tawny Port. So he's won 2 of the last 3, or the last 2 years, I should say, with Owendale and Tawny Port. So Disarm has a challenge on his hands with First Mission and Demolition Duke, the way I see it. Now, Disarm comes out of the Louisiana Derby, as does Dennington and Baseline Beater. That was a race that was won on the front end by Kings Barnes, and the pace was not very favorable that day. Tom Leach caught up with Neil Pessin, the trainer of Baseline Beater, to talk about his chances of rebounding in this race and what happened in the Louisiana Derby.
Neil Pessin's got Baseline Beater in the Stone Street Lexington. Didn't really have much of a chance in that last race, did he, with the post and the pace?
Well, he had no chance with the pace. I told Corey, I said, try not to get too far back, let him be within 8 lengths, at least give him a chance. Well, we ended up 20 lengths back and 5 lengths behind the next to last horse because of the post position and having to get over, and so he had no chance at all. He closed a little bit, but so did the rest of them. So I really didn't learn a whole lot about him. And I don't really care for the short run through the stretch here with the mile and a 16th, but that being said, hopefully Corey can get him started a little sooner, and he's drew the 1 hole, which is a little better than the 12 hole. Yeah. So hopefully he shows up. He's been training super. The last race took absolutely nothing out of him because he really didn't run that hard.
How has he progressed this year, coming off that nice win 2 back?
He's gotten better every race. That's why I tried the Louisiana Derby. I actually thought he had a shot in there till I saw the amount of pace that was in the race. And so hopefully there's more pace in this race. I haven't looked at it yet, but hopefully they have a little more pace that he can set up and hopefully not get 20 lengths back.
How has he come along from 2 to 3, and what's the upside that's left?
I think he has a lot of upside left because he's improved every start. He's gotten better, and he's still learning. He's still a big dumb gelding. So kind of some people say a lot like me, but so hopefully he keeps taking a step forward. The last race I just put a line through just because of the way the race set up, and hopefully we can make an improvement from the races before to this race, and he can be right there at the finish.
So thanks to Neil Pessin and his big dumb gelding. You got to love somebody who doesn't take themselves too seriously, but baseline beater, maybe a long shot to consider from well off the pace in the Lexington Stakes. Look at the picks from our public handicappers. I'm on First Mission. Look for Brad Cox to continue his streak in the Lexington Stakes. I've got Cox running 1-2 in here, Disarm the other horse. Disarm's picked on top by 2 of our handicappers. First Mission picked on top by 3 of the handicappers. So kind of looks like a 2-horse race if you're looking at playing multi-race wagers. I would go 3 deep in here. I like Demolition Duke and Disarm. 5, 3, and 6, the way I see the Lexington Stakes. Let's go next to race number 10 on the card. It's the Jenny Wiley. And the Jenny Wiley Stakes has kind of been the Chad Brown Invitational. He's won this race for the last 5 years, 4 of the last 5, and 5 of the last 8. Chad Brown's got 2 in here. Speak of the Devil, the late runner, and In Italian, who's the front-running favorite in here. She was winner of the First Lady Stakes at Keeneland last fall. She ran a dynamite race when leading all the way and just getting nailed at the wire in the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Turf. If she gets loose here, she's going to be awfully tough to beat. Her regular rider is Joel Rosario. He's off to Oaklawn to ride Clairiere in the $1 Million Apple Blossom on Saturday. So Irad Ortiz picks the mount back up on In Italian. Tom Leach caught up with Irad in the paddock earlier today.
Irad Ortiz riding full-time here at Keeneland for the first time. Enjoying it? Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, I do. Beautiful. It's beautiful here. It's good racing, good horses. Big crowd every single day. I love it.
You're reunited with In Italian for the Grade 1 Jenny Wiley. Is she a horse that is pretty easy for Chad to get ready off a layoff?
Chad is always, when he comes from layoff, he's scary. You know, he comes to a races ready. They 100%. No matter how long they've been without running from a layoff, I ride it with confidence because all the time I ride a horse of him of a layoff, they run big. So I'm not afraid of that, and I'm pretty sure the filly's doing good. If not, when I run the filly, and I'm positive. It's a nice filly. I remember when I used to ride her, and it's a nice filly. She always tried. She gives everything to me every time, and let's see what happens. Anything in particular about her that impressed you when you rode her to her best performances? She can break fast and she can keep going. She hold the pace. She stay all day. I mean, with that speed, and it's a little impressive. So what she can do. So I'm pretty excited.
You've got My Sweet Affair in the FanDuel.
And also, we caught up Tom Leach in the paddock today with Flavian Pratt to talk about the other Chad Brown trainee in this race. The other Chad is often a good handicapping angle. The late running Speak of the Devil. Here's Flavian Pratt.
Flavian Pratt will be aboard Speak of the Devil in the Grade 1 Jenny Wiley. Tell me what was impressive in the 2 times you rode her, especially the win at Churchill last year.
Yeah, no, win at Churchill was really impressive. She came from behind and showed a great turn of foot, so hopefully she can do that this weekend.
Yeah, I know that was at a mile, but mile and 16th here, I would think there's no concern.
I don't think it really matter. Mile 16. But yeah, as I say, and the track is going to be, it should be good, and just as it was at Churchill. So I'm hoping she'll run the same race.
Anything that Chad or your agent have told you in terms of what to expect from her when you're reunited?
Not really. No, I haven't seen Chad yet, and no, we haven't spoken of her yet.
What about how the turf course is playing here this spring?
It seems fair. I mean, horses come from inside, outside, in front, behind. Seems a really fair turf course, and I mean the ground is really good.
And you are going to be aboard Angel of Empire. It's been determined now in the Derby. What was it that impressed you so much about that horse?
I thought the last race was really impressive, and even the race before, it seems like he's coming along nicely, and it obviously was a tough choice because I thought those two horses, ran a huge race, and it's hard to determine which one is better, but hopefully I made the right choice.
So thanks to Tom Leach for that, and a little extra Kentucky Derby news. As we told you earlier in the week, it'll be Arkansas Derby winner Angel of Empire, the Kentucky Derby mount for Flavien Prat. As for the Jenny Wiley on Saturday, it kind of really all depends on the pace. If an Italian's able to scoot free and nobody go with her and really put a lot of pressure on her, she's just so tough on the front end. Really, you wonder if the 8 goes out here at all, and that being Freedom Speaks, a horse coming off the Raven Run on the main track sprinting last year. If Raven Run, that speed and that kind of pace is duplicated here, then you've got a horse in Freedom Speaks capable of running with an Italian early. We'll see what Irad Ortiz does if it gets pressure from Freedom Speaks. Will he let Relu Gutierrez just go on with it? Will he try to sit? Or will sometimes it's up to the horse. It's not up to the rider, right? The horse is 1,100, 1,200 pounds. The jockey's 115. So sometimes if an Italian's got her mind on going to the front, there's not a lot Irad can do about it. But the great jockeys communicate with the horses and are in sync with them and can get them into a good stride. So it's really important how the early part of this race goes with Freedom Speaks as to what kind of trip an Italian will get. If she gets her trip, I don't think she'll be beaten here. With the Moonlight is a pick for Tom Leach. If you are looking for an alternate, looking at the handicapper selectors box, everybody's got an Italian on top. Tom did go with the Moonlight, however, so he's on the island there on top. And with the Moonlight for trainer Charlie Appleby, William Buick sticking around the ride, not just sticking around. This is a grade 1 $600,000 race. But of course, those were the connections that ran second with Modern Games as the favorite on Friday in the Maker's Mark Mile. To the 11th and final we go. We've got some good options in this race. We talked about how well the California horses have been running at Keeneland here. We've got another one here at a nice price. Flavien Prat, we just saw him, maybe a little mojo with that. He's going to ride for trainer Mark Glatt with Ironic Twist. This is a horse who makes a second start off nearly a year layoff. Good workout since the return. That's one thing I like to see when a horse goes second start off the layoff. What's their workouts like since that race? Because a horse comes back off the layoff, maybe the race that they came back in kind of knocked them out, zapped them and took too much out of them. This horse, Ironic Twist, since the return from March of last year to February 18th at Santa Anita, has returned to work bullets since then, and I love seeing that. That tells me it's a horse second start of the form cycle that's about to run a really good one. Ironic Twist won the first out, won the second out, so we know second start off the form cycle can put back-to-back races together like he did last year. So I'm looking for Ironic Twist at a really nice price as my final key play of the day in a deep race. Race number 11's got some options in here, but 15-1 in the morning line, I'd love that all day Saturday and into Sunday if we can get that kind of price. Also, a lot of respect in here for number 11, Napa Candy, who's 20-1 in the morning line. Napa Candy's by Candy Ride, one of the top sires here in the dirt over the years. Had a big year last year. This is a horse who's run well at Keeneland, Napa Valley, Napa Candy, one of the horses by Candy Ride who's won over the track, won here last spring, not only won, but won by 5 in romping style. So it could be a horse for course angle, off the layoff, pedigree, Vicky Oliver, Rafael Bejarano teaming up here. Bejarano had a big price winner on the card today. Napa Candy, I believe, is 20-1 in the morning line, 15-1 on Ironic Twist. A lot of respect for those two from me. Let's see as we look across our handicapper selectors box. No other picks for Ironic Twist on top, but a couple underneath selections for that runner. Napa Candy, I'm on the island with. So if I can get the 4-11 in any kind of combination, first and second, split them first and third with a couple in between to wrap up the pick 4s, the pick 5s, maybe even the pick 6. That's what we're looking for. We got some big prices in here. 12 Tarabi is a deserving favorite in here coming out of stakes races, but she ran against straight 3-year-olds last year. She's been off since September. It's not the layoff that necessarily worries me. It's the fact that she's only ever run against only 3-year-olds. So those were restricted races every race of her career. At 2, she ran only against 2-year-olds. At 3, she ran only against 3-year-olds. This is her first time in true open company, even though she's going from a stakes race into an allowance race. These are some older, salty veterans that aren't just kind of in her same category. So interesting group in here. Like you got a horse like Overcharged in here who's won 8 career races and a veteran 5-year-old. So an interesting cast. Tarabi's probably the horse to beat on that past form. But again, a 3-year-old filly against straight 3-year-old fillies. Then when they go against olders and elders for the first time, sometimes it could be an eye-opener, and we'll see if she's as good as her resume looks when she ran against just restricted company. I have respect for her. I'd keep her included, obviously, but I like these long shots. Ironic Twist and Napa Candy to wrap things up. Now, let's look quickly at the pick 6. I know we're a little long here tonight with 11 race card to carry over, but here's why I kind of line up the pick 6 and where you want to consider here. In race number 6, the pick 6 starts. That's the race where the 15 Magical Loot really looks good to me if we can get in off the also eligible list. You got the first-time starter Scylla in there, the offspring of Close Hatches, the multimillionaire for Bill Mott. If this horse is really live on the tote, looks great pre-race, could just be the first-time starter who takes him. The 15 and 9 are very interesting. Those are the things you got to flush out. The good thing about it is it's the first leg of the pick 6. So you're going to see the tote and you're going to see the pre-race warm-up and the paddock and all that kind of stuff before you have to make a decision on that first-time starter. Really fortunate that it works out that way. In race number 7, it's only an 8-horse field, but I think there are a lot of good options in that race. We talked about Barber Road, Principe, Dioro, Tepu, the longer shot that I like in there a little bit. I think you want to go deep in that race, even though it's only an 8-horse field. The inclination will be, well, there's only 8. I can get by with 1 or 2. I think you want to go 4 or 5 deep in there. I think you really want to get your coverage in race number 7, because, again, we're only using 1 or 2 in the 6th, and we're only going to use a couple in some of these other races to come. In race number 8, Wesley Ward ran 1-2 in the juvenile turf or in the turf sprint stakes on Friday. Why do we resist Wesley Ward? I mean, we just want to take him, take Happy Soul the 3, take 10 Twilight Gleaming, and I would also use Amy C in between. I think we can get through race number 8 3 deep. But if you need to trim your ticket at some point and you just want to go with Wesley Ward and you just want to single the 3 Happy Soul in the power post 3. Wesley Ward, John Velasquez. If I had to single one in that race, that would be the one. But I think you use the 2 Wards and Amy C, the 5. In the 9th race, the Brad Cox duo, First Mission, Demolition Duke. They look a lot the same on paper. I do like First Mission more than Demolition Duke, but if First Mission doesn't fire, I won't be surprised if it's the other Brad Cox winner, and Disarm is a horse you have to keep in there. I think if you just go 3 deep in the Lexington Stakes, you can feel pretty safe. I'm going to trust in Italian. Hopefully she doesn't get in any kind of speed antics or anything like that and get in any kind of meltdown. I think if she runs her race, she's just simply the best horse in the Jenny Wiley at the distance, over the course, at this trip. Chad Brown will have her ready to go fresh. He's won this race off long layoffs in the past with the first start of the year. Again, he's won this race, the Jenny Wiley, 4 of the last 5 years. I'm just trusting in Italian when you're playing the pick 6. And we wrap it up with some great options. We talked about a couple different horses you could look at in the last race, but certainly the 2 long shots, 15-1 and 20-1, makes me feel like, look, if we can get to this last leg, we might be sitting, even if we get a couple favorites in there along the way, we could be looking at a nice payoff in this pick 6 or even the late pick 4, the late pick 5. If you don't want to go the whole way to the pick 6, the pick 4, the pick 5 are going to end here in this race with a couple really nice options at 15-1 and 20-1 in the morning line. That's going to wrap up tonight's Keeneland Look Ahead as we went through the 11 race card. You can catch us each night at 8:30 Eastern for the next day's program. On Saturday night, we will preview Sunday's card that includes the Beaumont Stakes. Looking forward to that on Sunday. We also got a Turf Sprint Stakes on the Sunday program as well. So a lot still to come at Keeneland coming up on Sunday. We get through this week. We're halfway home in the fall meet. We'll be 8 days in on the 15-day session. So a lot of great racing, or 7 days in on the 15-day session after this weekend, but a lot of great racing between now and then. We've got a great card on Saturday. Look forward to that. $93,000 pick six carryover, something to get excited about. $1 minimum for the pick six at Keeneland if you haven't played it. Not jackpot, traditional pick six. So good time to jump in. And again, just a reminder, Tyler Gaffalione, Joel Rosario on the road to ride in the $1 million Apple Blossom at Oaklawn Park. So when you handicap tomorrow and you see some strange jockeys that you're not used to seeing riding particular horses, like, oh, Rosario has ridden this horse every time. Why is he not on? He's out of town. Tyler's out of town. So that's going to change things up. I would suspect, knowing those two guys are out of town, it will be a big day for Luis Saez and Irad Ortiz. I will be surprised if we're not talking about one of those two guys winning 3 races on the card on Saturday. With Gaffalione, Rosario gone, I think you really look for Irad and Saez to step up and have really big afternoons. Partly cloudy skies, temperatures 78 degrees in the forecast for tomorrow. 40% chance a little overnight rain, but should not impact the racing tomorrow. Be sure to check out the updated scratches and changes at Keeneland.com and on social media at Keeneland Racing. And be sure to check out the Keeneland Today preview program tomorrow morning at 11:30 before each day's racing with Scott and Gabby. They'll take you through all the clocker reports, the long shots to look at for the day, all their handicapping selections, and the updated scratches, changes, and weather conditions that are so important. Have a great night, everybody. I'll be back tomorrow at 8:30 Eastern to take a look at that Sunday card featuring the Beaumont. Good luck at the races.